Welcome to the Transform My Dance Studio podcast, powered by the Dance Studio Owners Association. We are thrilled to be welcoming back Jodi Schilling and Angela Manella Hoffman as our guest hosts in a brand new season of Elevate Your Studio. This very special series will give you an inside look into how Jodi and Angela have grown their dance studios as they share their tips on building a thriving business while getting their life back. Jodi and Angela are the owners of Releve Studios in California and More Than Dance in Minnesota. Now, let's get on with the show. Elevate Your Studio with Jodi and Angela.
Welcome to Elevate Your Studio, finding joy in studio ownership. I'm Angela.
And I'm Jodi, and we are so thrilled to be back for a third season of this podcast.
Yes, it's so great to get to talk to you again, Jodi. So things have changed in the world, haven't they, a little bit?
A little bit. Dance studio ownership looks a little different these days.
Yes, it does. And I know you're all feeling it too. But today we want to talk a little bit about comparing yourself to others, because I think that it's so hard most times, but especially now with the COVID virus and all the changes that have had to be made.
Yeah, we're kind of rebels. We always talk about these taboo subjects. No one ever wants to admit that they compare themselves to others, right?
Yes, but I think almost everybody. I think almost everybody does. I mean,
I think if you say you don't, then you're not human.
Yeah, that's true, and we are pretty human, aren't we, Jodi?
Very fallible, for sure.
So, what gets you when you are thinking about comparing yourself to others? I have some ideas on how to help it, but what sets you off? I have some trigger things too
Well, I don't know. I try to remind myself when I'm doing it that I am comparing the best of someone else to the worst of me.
Mm-hmm.
How is that even a fair comparison? Like no one ever shares their fails. They only share like their highlights. And so if that's what you're comparing to, it's not really a fair analysis in the first place. So why am I putting myself through that? And you know, we're all different. We're all in different parts of our journey. So I may be comparing my beginning to someone else's end or vice versa. And that's no way to compare. Like, so why put yourself through that?
Do you find you compare yourself mostly with your studio or your personal self? I find I do both very often.
If I'm going to be honest, I have done both for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And especially now with seeing all of the things that people are doing to try to retain their students and all of these extra things, I feel sometimes like I cannot keep up. And it gets so like defeating to me. And I just want to crawl in someplace and like hide and eat lots of chocolate. Like that's what I'd like to do.
That's a good way to cope.
I guess chocolate isn't the worst, huh?
No. But didn't Mark Twain say, comparison is the thief of joy? And
absolutely.
And it's so true. It's like quicksand. Like the more you struggle with comparing, and you like the more you're struggling and the more you're dealing with it, the farther down you sink.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's hard for us as well, being part of the inner circle or being part of DSOA, because we see so many amazing people who have done just incredible things. And it's so uplifting, but then there's always that little twinge like, oh, why didn't I do that? At least for me anyway, like I could have done that. When it should be inspiring, and it usually 99% of the time is, there's always that little time for me where I get envious and jealous.
And gosh, when we do that, we're letting them drive our behavior and our feelings, and we're not driving it. So like, why do we even let that happen? Because it's a lot better when you're in the driver's seat.
Absolutely.
Some random emotion.
Yeah. I've noticed a few things that cause me to really compare myself more to other people. So I just want to share those with you and see if you have some good ideas. So for me, one is when I feel somewhat out of control. Mm-hmm. I know, none of us really have control, but when I'm not taking care of myself and doing what I need to do, I find then I really compare myself to others. And I think with the COVID virus, like I don't feel in control at all. Like you can't even make decisions because everything's changing all the time.
Yes. Yeah. I think you're absolutely right. And I think like to snap out of that, the only way that you can thrive is if like, I don't think comparison is bad if you're comparing yourself to yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like when I know when you're like thrown into something like COVID-19 and you see what everyone else is doing, it's also just really important to take stock of yourself and right, take care of yourself. But like, what have you, like, I always go back to like, what have I learned in the last 1 to 3 years? How have I grown in the last 6 months? And it kind of snaps me out of it. Like, I'm not stagnant. I'm better. Like I'm on this journey and
yeah, I like looking through old journals and I love finding like my old goals for my studio from like 3 or 4 years ago. And it's like, oh my gosh, if I would have known then what I have now, like it would have been amazing, mind blowing. It's just so funny to do that.
Can you imagine if we had joined the inner circle when we first started?
Oh my goodness.
Why were you not around when I started 10 years ago?
Seriously. I also find too that when I feel that like my programming isn't done as well or my systems aren't up to par, that's when, you know, if I see another studio owner that has this great idea and great event, then I start to feel like comparing myself to that. But really my real feeling is that I need to get my butt in gear and get my systems tuned up and all of my things done.
Doesn't life feel lighter and more in tune when we're focused on like ourselves and our own growth and our own goals and our own values? It's like, I know you and I are both actors, and in acting, they say that you have to, that you are enough. So like you go in and you audition for a role, you don't want to put on anything. You want to be just like very true to you.
Transparent.
That's when you book the job because you're so unique and you're so in yourself. Or have you ever tried on someone else's pair of jeans or shoes and they feel like awkward?
Yes.
When my mom passed away, my dad gave me all of her shoes. She had so many amazing shoes. And I used to like love them.
Yeah.
And I still do. Like I still have all of them, but I don't wear them because they don't fit me. Like they don't, we had the same size of foot, but they don't fit.
Right.
Isn't that weird?
No, I completely understand that.
Or you try on your best friend's clothes and the jeans just don't quite.
Right. Well, for me, you know, after eating all this chocolate from COVID, nothing quite fits. But and I think that's so true. And also, I think it's very easy to compare ourselves to others when, like, I know for me, if my husband will like compliment somebody on something great that, you know, oh, you should see what this studio owner did or whatever, then I'm like, oh man, now I'm, you know, worthless, blah, blah, blah. I'm probably worse at this than you, Jodi. You have a better head on your shoulders.
No, I don't see that. I mean, it's really hard when someone else is getting the glory or whatever to forget about all the things that you've done. And just because someone else is being complimented doesn't mean that, say, your husband doesn't think that you're doing an amazing job. It is really hard in the moment.
My mind can just go to some really dark places. So
all of us can do that. But how do we stop it? Like,
absolutely.
How do we stop it? I think the first thing is right?
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the best things is a gratitude journal. Like every day I wake up and I pray and I write down the things that I'm so grateful for. And just that really can switch your mindset. How about you? Do you do a gratitude journal?
Yeah, I count my blessings every single morning. The first thing I do is pray a prayer of gratitude. Like the moment I open up my eyes, I go right into prayer, and maybe that's meditation for you or journaling. But I go through all the things that I'm grateful for, and it gets the day off to a really good start. And you have to take time to celebrate the things that are such gifts, you know?
That's what I love about Clint. Whenever, we celebrate our wins, he has us do that a lot. And I think that's important for everybody, every studio owner, to think about, take the last 6 months, even the last 2 weeks, some days, and write down the things that are your wins personally, professionally. It really does help.
Yeah. And it does not work if you keep moving the goalposts.
Yeah.
Like, you're like, if I can only get to this, then I'm going to be really, really happy. Right. And then you move that goalpost, and then you end up never celebrating. Like, you have to actually cross the finish line, celebrate, and then set a new goal.
Absolutely. I loved our friend Tanya, who got a bottle of wine when she hit a certain number of students. I think I might have to add that one to my repertoire. It was great.
So when we start comparing, first you want to be aware, and then you want to ask, why am I doing this? And then you just gotta stop it. So how do you stop?
Well, I think it's important to have a couple resources before you get into that funky space.
Yeah.
Like, there has to be 3 or 4 go-tos. For me, it's spending some time going to church if I can. It is turning off, my Facebook feed for a day. I think because once you're in it, then you can start to spiral. But if you have some tools that can help you, so you can always go back to them, I think that's a good idea, to just have something that's your fallback.
Absolutely. I think affirming your value. And then just refocusing and working towards your vision, because everyone's is slightly different. And then, like, really, really digging down into your goals. Like, I think that financial goals, while they're great and you have to have them, they only get you so far. And you end up being a happier person if your goals are a little deeper. Like, maybe it's like, I want to help my community, or I want to change lives, or I want to make something beautiful, or create a legacy, or like, sometimes that's a little bit easier to grasp. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I think, your value of life is so much more important too. I think, that you have to know what you want, and if somebody was writing your, what is it called, your eulogy. If somebody was writing your eulogy, what would they say? And how do you want to live up to that?
And I think you have to focus on your strengths if you're going to live up to that. And your strengths are going to be different than someone else's strengths. And then just realizing that your journey is so special, and it's been woven into this like unique tapestry that all fits together according to in my purpose, then how could you be going wrong?
And, when all else fails, you call your best friend, like I get to talk to you, and she makes everything better.
That's a good point. You want to keep good company.
Yes, absolutely. And you don't want people who are going to tear you down or, say the negative things. You want those people. Don't they say you are the accumulation of the 5 people that you spend the most time with?
Yeah. Yeah.
So spend time with the people who bring you up. I mean, even if they're not that's what's so great about DSOA, because usually you would not find studio owners or people in the same type of profession who are always trying to compete with each other. You know what I mean? So in the DSOA, there's so many people that uplift each other, which is great. I think it's very unique.
It is. It's very special. And you want to get rid of the people that are in your life that are pulling you down, or if you find that you're feeling a certain kind of way after talking to someone, then why do you spend the time talking to them?
I had this realization on Facebook the other day. There was a friend that every time I read their comments, it just made me feel like crap. So finally I'm like, why don't I unfriend them? And I felt so much guilt for unfriending them. Like, how ridiculous is that?
I have to just block them from my feed. I get so guilty about unfriending that I just have to kind of block them for 30 days.
Well, I even feel bad about that. Like, what is wrong with me? It's ridiculous. Ridiculous. And so what would be comparing ourselves to other people with the good things that we do? I still think it's not great to compare yourself to other people, but I think it's good to see where you fall into line. There's always going to be someone better, always someone worse off than you. How do you do that? So like, how do you find your strengths in your comparisons with others?
Oh, it's a good question. For me, my strengths would just always make themselves glaringly apparent.
Well, to everybody else.
I'm bad at so much.
No, I'm going to say
you're good at so much. Stand out.
People must listen to us and think that we just, gush over each other all the time. But we are so blessed to get to be friends.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's nice.
I think embracing your awkward is important. One of my favorite things to do is watch a toddler learn how to walk. And it is not pretty.
No.
But it's fascinating. And it's such a good story. And you're rooting for them. And,
and even when they fall, you're like, yay, good job. You tried. You did it.
I think that's where authenticity comes in. And, often, I don't know how to not be authentic. It's just part of who I am. And so sometimes people will think that I overshare what I'm going through. Like there was a live Facebook post that I did not long ago that maybe got a little too real, but then you would not believe the people in the comments that chimed in, rooting on this stupid toddler trying to walk through COVID-19 because it's fascinating and it was real. And
we've all been there. We've all been there
and they relate to it. And once they relate to you and they like you, then they trust you. And so there's something to be said also for just embracing your awkwardness and your weaknesses.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, those weaknesses are the things that can help us search out the people who can help us, and
so don't they say that your greatest strength is also your greatest weakness and vice versa?
Well, who are they, Jodi? No, I'm just teasing. Yes.
No, I'm just saying stuff.
Just keep calling them they, and then we'll.
Well, if you say they, you don't have to give credit.
There you go. There you go.
Can't think of it on the spot.
But, basically, I think it all really comes down to when you feel right within yourself and feel in alignment with everything that you value, I think then you don't compare yourself as much to others.
Yeah.
And I think being in alignment is the most important thing we can do.
Oh, I agree. And when you feel like you're not in alignment, you need a little boost of confidence, like an injection of strength.
Yes.
You know what I do? I save, this is dumb. I save every positive thing that anyone has ever written to me or every.
No way, I do too.
Every card. I have a file of Jodi pick-me-ups that I'll go to when I start to feel like really bad about myself. I go to that.
It's a fantastic idea. Like I save all of my pictures that little kids draw me and stuff. And you have to, because when you hear all the negative all the time, it's so nice to have something positive. That's awesome, Jodi. I love that.
Maybe that's our the gifts. How people have certain gifts that they love. Mine for sure is words of affirmation. Over everything else. I want people to tell me I'm doing a good job.
Absolutely. So I think for everyone listening, they should all make their own box. Like decorate it, like get crafty, take out some of those old jewels that you have from costumes and create a box that you put things in. Like no matter how small, or somebody just says, you're doing a great job, and celebrate it. I think everybody should have their own box. I don't know what to call them, but we should We should market that.
Have you seen those jars that you can make and you fill it with like special notes for each single day?
Yes.
What if we did that for like our competition kids?
That's fantastic. Like starting at the beginning.
Gift. Like what a like a not inexpensive gift, but like heartfelt gift if you like had like a month of like positive things that you think about each of those students and pull them out of the jar. What an amazing Christmas gift that would be.
Wouldn't it? Or, or you could do it like start of the season and then each class write down one thing. And then at their first competition, right before their first competition, give them their jar or the little box or whatever.
Ooh, we're doing it.
We are so doing it.
You know, if we're struggling with comparison, those sweet teenagers are too. No, they are. I did.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. That's when it all starts.
That is such a fantastic idea, Jodi. I am really going to do that.
I think I am too.
That's great. That's great. And then,
just talking to you.
Oh, well, thank you.
Ideas will pop out just from our conversations.
I love it. Hey, so if you guys listening, make your own creative box or jar for your students, please tag us and post a picture because we would love to see some inspiration.
Yeah. Especially since now we have to do it because we said we
I know. I'll post mine if you post yours.
You know, when you're a happy person and you're living life joyfully, it leaves less room for comparison and that yucky stuff. So I think another important thing to do is to do things that bring you joy.
Yeah.
Like have a hobby outside of the studio. Have things that are completely unrelated that you can do to escape the stress.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you ever read the book, The Artist's Way?
No.
Oh, it's a fantastic book. And it's like a self-guided journal about artists and what artists think and how to kind of break through that. But they have a thing where you have to give yourself an artist date. So once a week, you have to go just by yourself and either go to a museum or watch a movie or read something just by yourself. And it doesn't have to be like profound, but every week take yourself on an artist date. And that is really life-changing too. So once things open up again.
I love that. They just opened up our trails. I live like on the outskirts of Los Angeles, butted up against this gorgeous mountain, and there's hiking trails all the way through it. And they closed them, but they just reopened them on Mother's Day. And so on Mother's Day, Sean and the girls said, we're going for a hike for Mother's Day because they know that I like outside feeds me. Yeah. And so all we did was go on this hike, and the girls, Pixie and Whimsy, they're 6 and 4, they were collecting wildflowers, like, because everything's closed. There's no flower shops or anything. So they collected the wildflowers and, just those breaks.
Yes.
Really, really help.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So if you had like one thing to share, like one word of wisdom to help someone who's struggling with comparing themselves, like we all do, like we're not going to lie, we all do it, but how do you, like one wise thought that you can share to get out of it?
I think I'm going to think of a word, and the word is wonder.
Ooh.
So I want you to think of the wonder that you are, like just the fact that your body works, that your blood flows, that your heart beats. That's amazing in itself. And then look out to the wonder of what is created in nature. I think just seeing those things, I don't know. That's my word. That's what came to my head. How about you?
I love it.
Thanks.
That's good. That's hard to follow. I think that it is so important to remember that there is room for everyone to be successful in their own way, and it is going to look completely different for every single person. And in this life, you don't want to hoard your gifts.
Yeah.
Like if you have a candle and you light someone else's candle, your flame doesn't go out.
Absolutely.
You just spread it. So my biggest word of wisdom is to share, because the more you share, the more grateful you feel and the more you grow.
Well, I think that's fantastic. I love it. I also think that talking to you just helps everybody. So
Stop.
That's another thing. Well, thanks, Jodi. This was awesome.
This is awesome. Let's go out and conquer the world.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You guys, thanks for listening to us ramble on about comparison. Jump in and let us know what your biggest takeaway was from this. We would love to know if anything touched you in particular.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll get you next time.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Elevate Your Studio on the Transform My Dance Studio podcast. You can learn more about Jodi and Angela, plus the behind-the-scenes stories from 19 other successful dance studio owners from around the globe in our brand new book, Dance Studio Secrets: 65 Ways to Build a Thriving Studio, is now available on Kindle and paperback from Amazon.com. See you next week for a new episode with our special guest hosts.